Hello, everybody. If you are a fan of comic books, if you are a fan of comic book movies, if you are a fan of DC Comics, if you are a fan of the upcoming DCU and a fan of James Gunn, you're going to want to watch this here video. So, recently it came out that not only are we getting a Clayface movie, that the Clayface movie is going to be set in the DCU. We will now go to an article from comicbook.com. Mike Flanagan's Clayface movie has been given a release date by DC Studios, as had the animated dynamic duo. James Gunn, meanwhile, reveals which universe the villain-led project is going to be set in. Following reports earlier this week that DC Studios is moving forward with a Clayface movie, it's been announced today that it will be released in theaters on September 11th, 2026. Midnight Mass and Dr. Sleep's Mike Flanagan will pen the screenplay, though no director or star is attached at this time, according to the trades. Since the news broke a few moments ago, DC Studios co-CEO and Superman director James Gunn has taken to social media to confirm. Exciting news out of DC Studios today as Clayface, a DCU story from a script by Mike Flanagan, has been officially greenlit. Clayface premieres in 2026. Yes, Clayface will be set in the DCU and not Matt Reeves' Batverse. We know the villain will appear in Creature Commandos, but whether that's the same version we'll see in Flanagan's movie remains to be seen. Multiple people have held the Clayface mantle on the page. The Hollywood Reporter adds, the idea is to make a horror movie in the $40 million range, in another effort to show the diversity of the DC Studios slate. Fun fact, Flanagan loves the Clayface episodes from the classic Batman the Animated Series. According to Deadline, Flanagan is reportedly conceiving Clayface as a horror thriller tragedy. He won't be painted as a villain, which has been the case with his legend in DC. The character will be a big part of Batman 2. Gunn has had something to say about that, too, taking to threads to seemingly debunk claims we'll see Clayface and Scarecrow in the Batman Part 2. Why seemingly? Well, just because he hasn't read the script yet doesn't mean those characters aren't in it. As Gunn responds to someone quote tweeting this, Clayface and the Scarecrow will be big additions to the Batman Part 2. Clayface will apparently be Matt Hagen, going for a more realistic Darkman vibe. And someone tweets to James Gunn, this true? James Gunn says, firstly, no. Secondly, couldn't be the case, as there hasn't yet been a first draft of a script. His usual vague double talk there. Perfect example. Each version of Clayface has different powers in the comics. Basil Karlo originally had no special abilities, but instead wore a horrible clay mask. He'd later use cell samples from the third and fourth iterations to shapeshift his very DNA. Matt Hagen, who many of you will remember from Batman the Animated Series, can only change his appearance temporarily and must return to a pool of protoplasm to recharge. Star Trek fans, this should sound familiar. See Odo. Preston Payne could melt people with a single touch. Sandra Fuller had the same abilities as Hagen, albeit without the need to charge herself up. And Peter Malley could dissolve others with a look. The villain's main power is, of course, the fact he can look and sound like anyone. In Flanagan's DCU set movie, we'd imagine him being the mud monster you see above, and if he is in the Batman Part 2, it will likely be as a mask-wearing serial killer. So, we learned a few things from this article. We learned that 1, it's coming out September 11th, 2026. 2, this obviously means it's filming early to mid next year. 3, it is being conceived of as a very low-budget horror film that is also a thriller and a tragedy, and that he's going to be sympathetic and not really a villain. These are the givens from the article. Oh, and also that Flanagan is writing it, an acclaimed horror writer. He actually has a pretty good resume. So Flanagan writing the movie is a good thing. Now, here are the things we can deduce from the article. 1, the fact that it's a $40 million budget means this massive fact. Ain't gonna be no Batman in this movie. There's no way you're paying Pattinson to be in this movie and still keeping a budget at $40 million. Less than half of even low-budget action movies. Like $80 million is considered to be low budget for an action movie. This one's only going to be 40. Yes, it's being marketed or it's being planned out more as a horror, thriller, tragedy, but it's still a comic book movie, which means you're still going to need special effects, especially if you're going the direction Flanagan seems to want to go, as a big moving pile of clay that can morph at will. That's a lot of VFX. And there's going to be fights because, you know, anyone sees that dude walking around, they're probably going to attack him. He's going to get into some stuff. So, while Flanagan is looking at it as a horror thriller tragedy, by definition, as a comic book movie, you're going to need some action in that puppy too. Okay? So, number one, no Batman. And that's probably the biggest thing. No Batman. Do you guys realize what no Batman means in this movie? It means this movie may as well have been made by Sony in the SSU, where we got 6 straight movies of Batman or Spider-Man villains with no Spider-Man in them. So, if you are not a fan of the way Sony did things, I'm curious if you are somehow a fan of Gunn doing the exact same damn thing. I don't understand some of the reactions I've seen out there. There are people like, let James Gunn cook. Clayface is hype. There's going to be no Batman in this movie. If you disliked a Spider-Man-less SSU, then you better damn well not be hyped up about this movie. It makes no sense. It makes no sense to do the same thing Sony did, and it makes no sense to be hype about it. Now, James has said this movie's been officially greenlit. It's already got a filming date set. It's already got a release date set. Here's what we don't know. Who's directing this bad boy? A vast majority of the time, studios don't announce a greenlit feature without a writer and a, wait for it, director. But we have no director for this movie. Now, this is where we engage in speculation. But why do you think James Gunn would greenlight a Clayface movie, but without having a director announced? Why would he do that? Well, I'll tell you. Because he's going to direct this one. That's why. He's going to direct it. Flanagan's going to write it. Oh, and by the way, Matt Reeves is producing it. So while this movie is official DCU continuity and not Elseworlds Battinson continuity, Reeves is still highly involved, as he is also producing that dynamic duo show that briefly mentioned in this article also got its own release date. So that means, once again, James Gunn is going to be stepping away from overseeing the DCU in its entirety, as a studio head should be doing, and he's going to hop back in the director's chair, most likely. Now, I understand him wanting to direct the Superman movie, since that is, while Creature Commandos is the official first entry into the DCU, the first entry that matters is Superman. The entire future of the DCU hinges on whether Superman hits or misses. If it hits, DCU has a chance. If it misses, it's done before it really gets going. So I can understand why James Gunn would want to direct that one. What I don't understand is why he's going to hop back in the director's chair instead of shepherding his new universe into some semblance of order so that we can get products in a relatively timely manner that are good at a bare minimum. Instead, he's going to take his time and dither around with a solo villain movie of a villain who, in general, isn't even ranked that highly. Basically, what I'm saying to you is, this is a bad idea. There's going to be no Batman in it. James is going to be taking time away from what he should be doing to piddle around with it. And frankly, Clayface is at best a C-tier villain, despite the exposure he got in Batman the Animated Series, and despite the fact that Flanagan loves him. Putting Clayface out as a solo villain movie with no Batman in it before we even get the official DCU Batman, let's think about that one for a second, is a bad idea. It's a bad idea. However, I imagine there are some people out there that think it's a good idea. If you are one of those people, let me know in the comments down below. If you agree with me, let me know in the comments down below. If you think both I and James Gunn are on crack and you have a completely different way of dealing with this, let me know in the comments down below. I would love to hear it. And while you're down there messing around in that section of the video, go ahead and hit that like, hit that subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you know anytime I drop a video like this or anytime I go live, which I do on the regular Wednesday nights and Saturday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And currently I'm also going live Tuesdays and Thursdays to host watch parties. Tuesdays for Skeleton Crew and Thursdays for the official first entry into the DCU, which I'm enjoying, Creature Commandos. So, come back to the channel, check out a watch party, check out a live stream, go back, check out some older videos, check out some older live streams. Have a good time, and remember this, wherever you're at and whoever you're with, always keep it nerdy.